All right, everyone ready to dive into some research design today?
I am pumped.
It's fascinating stuff, really, how researchers set up experiments, so they can get reliable answers.
Yeah, it's kind of like their secret code.
Exactly. And today, we're going deep on single-factor design.
Oh, that's a good one.
It is. And it's all based on this research methods text we've been looking at. So
Yeah.
let's get started with, the basics.
Okay.
What is research design?
Well, I think about it as like a blueprint
Okay.
for your research. The plan to get you to the answers, the right answers, in the best way.
Right, because nobody wants to just be, wandering around in the dark.
No, absolutely not.
Just guessing, right?
Right.
And speaking of the best way, the most efficient way, I guess.
Right.
Our source talks about this thing called the Max-Minkon principle.
Max-Minkon principle.
It's kind of a mouthful.
It is, yeah. But it's so important.
Yeah.
It's basically like, okay, imagine you're a detective, right?
Okay, I love that.
You've got to solve this case, so you've got to look for those key clues.
Right.
Those are the things you want to maximize. That's the max part.
Yeah.
But then there's all this other noise and distraction that could mess you up, so you got to control for those. Con. And then the MIN is for minimizing any random stuff that you just can't control.
Oh, I like that. Like a detective separating the signal from the noise.
Yes, exactly.
Very cool. Okay, so that's the general idea. But today, like we said,
Yeah.
we're zeroing in on single-factor design.
Single factor.
What's that all about?
Okay, so in this design,
Yeah,
we're only looking at one variable, just one.
just one. Okay.
That's the thing you change in the experiment.
All right, so we're isolating it to see its effects.
Exactly. It's called your independent variable.
Okay, the independent variable.
And there's two main types of single-factor designs, between group
All right.
and
Oh, yeah.
within subject.
Between group and within subject. All right, what's the difference?
So between group is like you've got different groups of people,
Okay.
but each group experiences a different condition of that variable.
Right.
Like imagine you're testing out a new brain training app,
Right.
see if it improves memory.
Okay.
So you could have one group use the app and one group just doesn't.
So then you compare their memory,
Exactly.
see if the app had any effect.
Exactly. And there are a few ways to set up these groups.
Okay.
You can just randomly assign people, which is great,
Yeah.
or you could do this matched group design.
Matched group. Okay.
So you pair people up based on something relevant
Okay.
before putting them in different groups.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like say you were looking at a new teaching method,
Uh-huh.
you could match students who had similar grades, before trying the new versus the old teaching method.
Yeah. So you're kind of controlling for their past performance.
Yes, exactly.
That's very clever. I like that.
Now, within subject designs, it's different.
Okay, so this is the other type.
Yeah, here the same people experience all the conditions.
So it's not different groups. It's everybody gets to do everything.
Exactly. You're comparing them to, themselves
Right.
at different times.
Oh.
Like, let's say you were doing a reaction time study
Yeah, okay.
to different colors.
Uh-huh.
So each person would see like red, green, and yellow,
Right.
and you'd measure how fast they react to each one.
So you're seeing how their own performance changes.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Actually, there's this famous study, I think it was by Fergus Craik
Yeah, Craik and Tulving.
and Holving.
Our source mentions them.
Yeah, they used this design within subject
Uh-huh.
to see how different ways of thinking about words affects how well you remember them.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so they had participants process the words visually,
Okay.
like noticing if it was in all caps or whatever,
Right.
then acoustically.
Okay, so how the word sounds.
Yeah, and then semantically.
Semantically, so the actual meaning.
Yeah, like what does the word mean?
Okay.
Their theory was that the deeper you process something,
Okay.
the better you remember it.
So which way of processing worked best?
It was the semantic processing.
Oh, wow.
People remembered those words the best.
Interesting. So paying attention to the meaning really does make a difference.
Yeah, it supports their theory.
That's so cool. And it makes me think about how I study.
Mhm.
Maybe I should be focusing more on understanding the concepts instead of just skimming.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's so cool about research, right?
Yeah,
Gives us insights into how our minds work.
definitely. But with these stories, within subject designs,
Yeah.
is there something we have to be careful about?
Oh, yes, definitely. Something called order effects.
Okay, order effects. Tell me more about that.
Well, it's basically that the order someone experiences the conditions in
Okay.
can actually change their performance, even if the conditions are the same.
Oh, wow. So tricky.
Yeah, it can really mess things up.
Okay, I need an example.
Okay, imagine you're at a wine tasting.
I love wine tastings.
You start by tasting this super sweet wine,
Okay.
and then later you taste a dry one.
Right.
That dry one might taste way more bitter than it actually is.
Oh, because you had the sweet one first.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a good example.
That's an order effect in action.
Oh, wow.
So researchers need ways to avoid that.
Right, to keep those order effects from messing up their results.
Right, so they've got these clever tricks.
Right.
Like they can randomize the order.
So, like, for each person, it's in a different order.
Yeah, or they can do reverse counterbalancing.
Reverse counterbalancing. What's that?
So some people experience the conditions one way
Okay.
and others the exact opposite way.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like with the colors, right?
Uh-huh.
Someone might see red, then green, then yellow.
Right.
And someone else yellow, then green, then red.
Okay, so you're just mixing things up.
Exactly, to keep things fair.
That makes a lot of sense, and this is making me wonder,
What's that?
how do researchers choose which design to even use?
Oh, good question.
Like, when is it better to use? Between group versus within subject?
It all depends on
Okay.
the research question and the design.
Uh-huh.
For example, let's say there's a chance of carryover effects.
Carryover effects. I don't think we talked about that.
Oh, yeah. It's basically when something learned in one condition
Uh-huh.
affects another condition.
Okay.
Like, say you're testing different language learning apps.
Right.
Well, the skills you learn on one
Yeah.
might actually make you better at the second one.
Oh, okay. So it's hard to know what caused the improvement.
Right. It's the carryover, not the second app itself.
So in those cases, between group is better.
Yeah, it keeps those experiences totally separate.
Okay, that makes sense.
But within subject designs
Yeah.
are great when you don't have a lot of participants.
Right, because each person is their own control group in a way.
Exactly. You don't need as many people,
Mhm.
and it helps reduce the impact of those individual differences.
The individual differences.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier.
Right, right.
But since you're comparing them to themselves,
Yeah.
those individual quirks
Yeah.
don't really matter as much.
Oh, I see.
They're basically controlled for...
It's like a built-in noise cancellation feature for your data.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. So choosing the right design
Yeah.
is about weighing the pros and cons
Exactly.
between group, good for those carryover effects
Right.
within subject, great for when you don't have a ton of people.
Yeah, for smaller studies.
Yeah, and controlling for those individual differences.
It's all about picking the right tool for the job.
It really is like a puzzle figuring it all out.
It is.
I have to say, I am looking at research completely differently now.
That's awesome.
It's so cool.
Yeah, and even if you don't do your own research,
Yeah.
this stuff is still super helpful.
Wait, really? How so?
Well, first, you can spot bad research more easily.
Oh, yeah, like if I'm reading a news article,
Exactly.
like a news study or something.
Right, so now you can be like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
what kind of design did they use? Did they control for bias?
Right. All those things we're talking about.
Yeah, do the conclusions actually match their findings?
It's like having a BS detector for research.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's so helpful because, like,
Yeah.
there's so much information out there these days.
I know, it's overwhelming.
You got to figure out what's even true anymore.
Exactly.
So that's one way it's helpful, but you said there was another way.
Oh, yeah, it can even help you with your own life.
Really?
Even like everyday stuff. Like say you're trying to figure out how to study better, or you want to try different workout routines.
Okay, yeah.
See which gets you the best results.
So I can actually apply these principles to figure that stuff out.
Right. So instead of just trying things randomly,
Yeah.
you can actually like set up a little experiment.
Cool. So what would I do?
Well, first you got to think, what's the thing you're changing, right?
Okay, so that's my independent variable.
Exactly. Then what are you measuring?
The dependent variable.
Yeah. And then which design is best, between group or within subject?
I am loving this.
Yeah,
It's like I can use these research ninja skills in my everyday life.
absolutely.
I am so down for that.
Good.
This has been so eye-opening.
Glad to hear it.
Now, before we wrap up today, I have a challenge for our listeners.
Ooh, a challenge. Okay.
So our source talked about the types of designs,
Right.
but it didn't really go into like
Yeah.
designing an
From
experiment
scratch.
from scratch.
Yeah.
So I want you to think about something you're curious about
Okay.
and see if you could design a simple experiment to test it out.
I love that. Put this knowledge into practice.
Right, and it doesn't have to be some big, complicated thing.
Now keep it simple.
Yeah, maybe you want to try different study techniques.
Right.
See which helps you remember better.
Or different music.
Oh, yeah, does music affect your mood or your productivity?
Exactly. So many possibilities.
Yeah, so once you've got your research question,
Uh-huh.
what's the thing you're changing?
Independent variable?
Your independent variable.
What are you measuring?
Your dependent variable.
The dependent variable. And then which design fits best?
Yeah, between or within.
This is making me want to go grab my notebook and just start designing experiments right now.
Yeah, go for it.
So cool.
Love that enthusiasm.
I'm so inspired.
That's what we like to hear. And hey, if you come up with some cool ideas,
Yeah.
we would love to hear them.
Definitely share your thoughts, your questions, your research, ninja breakthroughs.
We're all in this together.
And that's what I really love about these deep dives. It's
Yeah.
not just like passively listening,
Right.
It's really engaging with the material,
Asking questions.
asking questions, and figuring out how to apply it to your own life.
Absolutely. It's about being curious,
Yeah.
more discerning, and more empowered
Yes. Yes.
in the world.
And who knows, maybe some of our listeners will go on to become like, oh, yeah,
Amazing researchers themselves,
I hope so.
pushing the boundaries of what we know,
Yeah, keep learning.
making the world a more fascinating place.
Here's to curiosity and the joy of discovery.
Yes, love that.
Keep those research ninja skills sharp, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
See you then. Okay, so we were talking about those order effects.
Yeah, those can be tricky.
Can you remind me what those are again?
Oh, yeah. So within subject designs, right? It's when the order someone experiences the conditions
Right.
can actually affect how they perform.
Even if the conditions are the same.
Yeah, exactly. Even if they're the same.
Wow. Okay, I need an example.
Okay, so let's say you're at a wine tasting
Okay, I like where this is going.
and you try the super sweet wine first.
Right?
Then later you try a dry wine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because you had that sweet one first,
Yeah.
that dry one's going to taste even more bitter
Oh, wow. Okay, I get it.
than it actually is, right?
Yeah, so it's not the wine itself, it's the order you tasted them in.
Uh-huh. Exactly. That's an order effect.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, and researchers, obviously, they
Mhm.
got to find ways to avoid that.
Right, because it could totally mess up their results.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
they have a few tricks.
Like what?
Well, one is randomization.
Randomization, okay.
So they present the conditions in a random order.
Oh, so like each person gets a different order.
Exactly. Or they can do reverse counterbalancing.
Reverse counterbalancing. Okay, break that down for
So
me.
some people experience the conditions like one way,
Okay.
and then others the exact opposite.
Oh, interesting. So going back to our color example,
Yeah.
one person might see red, then green, then yellow,
Uh-huh.
and another yellow, green, red.
Exactly, just to mix things up.
Keep it fair.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But this is making me wonder, how do researchers even choose which design to use?
Oh, yeah, good question.
Like when would they use between group versus within subject?
Well, like most things in research,
Yeah.
it depends on the research question, really,
Okay.
and what could go wrong with each design.
Oh, okay.
Like, let's say there's a chance of carryover effects.
Carryover effects. Now, I don't think we've talked about that.
Oh, yeah, it's when, like,
Yeah.
something you learn in one condition
Okay.
affects how you do in another condition.
Okay, yeah. Give me an example.
Okay, so imagine testing different language learning apps.
Right.
Well, the skills you learn on one app
Uh-huh.
might make you better at a different app later on.
Oh, okay. So it's not the second app itself. It's what you learned on the first one.
Right, exactly.
So how do you know which one is actually better?
That's the problem with carryover.
Right.
So in those cases,
Yeah.
between group is better.
Because you keep those experiences separate.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
But then within the subject designs,
Yeah.
they're really good when you only have a few people.
Right. Because each person acts as their own control.
You got it.
So you don't need as many participants.
Exactly. And it helps reduce the impact
Mm.
of
What was it called?
individual differences.
Individual differences, right?
Yeah, remember we talked about
Right. Yeah.
how everyone's different.
Yeah.
But when you're comparing someone to themselves,
Like, yeah.
it doesn't matter as much.
So their unique quirks
Yeah, there are quirks.
don't mess up the results.
Exactly. It's like built-in noise cancellation.
Okay. I'm really starting to get this.
Good, good.
So between group, good for carryover,
Mm-hmm.
within subject, good for small studies,
Yeah.
and to control for those individual differences.
It's all about choosing the right tool
For the job.
for the job.
I'm
Exactly.
telling you, I am seeing research in a whole new light now.
I love that. That's great.
It's so cool.
It is cool.
And even if,
Yeah.
someone never actually does research themselves, this stuff is still helpful.
It is. It's so helpful.
How so?
Well, first you can spot bad research.
Okay, yeah, like if you're reading an article online.
Right. Or in the news. And you can be like, wait a minute. What kind of design did they use?
Right. Did they control for all the things we're talking about?
Exactly. Like, did they control for bias? And do their conclusions actually match the data?
So it's like a BS detector for research.
It is. It's a BS detector.
Which is so important these days because
I know, right?
there's so much information out there.
So much.
You got to figure out what's even true anymore.
It's overwhelming.
So that's one way it's helpful. But
yeah.
You said there was another way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What was it?
It can actually help you in your own life.
Really? Like how?
Even just like everyday stuff.
Give me an example.
Okay, so say you're trying to figure out how to study better.
Okay.
Or like, which workout routine gets you the best results.
Okay. Yeah.
You can actually apply these ideas to your own life.
So instead of just trying things randomly,
right.
You're like actually doing a little experiment.
Exactly.
So walk me through it.
Well, first you got to think, what's the thing I'm changing?
The independent variable.
The independent variable, exactly. Okay. Then what am I measuring?
The dependent variable.
Yes. And then, which design makes the most sense?
Between or within.
Exactly.
I am loving this.
Good. It's fun, right?
I know. It's like I'm a research ninja now.
You are. You are.
This is so eye-opening.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
And before we go today, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge.
A challenge. I like it.
So our source, it talked about the designs.
Yeah.
But it didn't really get into the actual design process.
The nitty-gritty.
Yeah. So here's the challenge.
Hit me.
Think about something you're curious about.
Okay.
And see if you can design an experiment to test it out.
Oh, I love that. Put this knowledge into action.
Right. It doesn't have to be anything super complicated.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Maybe you want to try different study techniques. See which one helps you remember better.
Ooh, or like different types of music.
Yeah. Yeah. Does music affect your mood?
Your focus, your productivity.
So many possibilities.
So many.
So think about your research question.
Uh-huh.
What's the thing you're changing?
The independent variable.
What are you measuring?
The dependent variable.
And then which design fits best?
Between or within.
This is making me want to go grab my notebook.
Yeah.
And just start designing experiments.
Do it. It's fun.
I am so inspired right now.
I love that energy. And hey, if you come up with some cool ideas, share them with us.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts, questions, any breakthroughs.
We're all on this journey together.
That's what I love about these deep dives.
Yeah, what's that?
It's not just sitting back and listening.
Right.
It's really engaging with the material.
Thinking critically.
Yeah, asking questions, figuring out how it applies to your own life.
Absolutely. Becoming more curious, more discerning.
More empowered.
More empowered, exactly.
And who knows, maybe some of our listeners will go on to become amazing researchers themselves.
That would be awesome.
Pushing the boundaries of knowledge, making the world even more fascinating.
I love it. Here's to curiosity and the joy of discovery.
Yes, love that.
Keep those research ninja skills sharp, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.
See you then. So yeah, we were talking about this challenge for our listeners.
Yeah, to design their own experiment.
It doesn't have to be like anything crazy.
No, keep it simple.
Just a fun way to put these ideas into practice.
Exactly, yeah.
So maybe you want to test out, different study techniques.
Ooh, yeah, like flashcards versus...
Yeah, flashcards versus...
summarizing or something like that.
Right, or does music help you focus?
Oh, yeah, music is a good one.
Does listening to music help you study better?
Or what kind of music, right?
Exactly. Classical versus, I don't know.
Pop music.
Pop music or something, yeah.
Lots of options.
So many possibilities.
Yeah, so once you've got an idea, think about, okay, what's my independent variable?
Right, that's the thing you're changing.
What thing you're manipulating?
Right, and then what are you measuring?
That's your dependent variable.
And then which design is going to be the best fit?
Between group or within subject.
You got it.
This is fun, right?
I know. I'm already thinking of experiments.
I know, me too.
I need to go grab my notebook.
Yeah, go for it.
It's so cool. I'm so inspired.
I love it.
And hey, if our listeners come up with some cool ideas, we want to hear them.
Let us know.
Share your thoughts, your questions, your breakthroughs,
Research is all about sharing.
It is, and that's what I love about these deep dives.
Yeah.
It's not just about passively listening.
Right.
It's about, really engaging with the ideas.
Asking those critical questions.
Yeah, figuring out how it applies to your life.
Becoming more curious, more discerning,
Right.
and ultimately more empowered.
More empowered. Yes, I love it.
That's the goal.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe one of our listeners will go on to become like a researcher themselves.
That would be amazing.
Pushing the boundaries of knowledge.
Yeah.
Making the world a more fascinating place.
I love that. That's a great way to put it.
Well, on that note,
Yeah.
I think it's time to wrap up today's deep dive.
Okay.
But hey, keep those research ninja skills sharp.
Yeah, stay curious out there.
We'll catch you on the next one.
See you then.
Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Your support helps us keep creating valuable content like this. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Join our community for more insights into psychology and personal development. Let's grow and learn together. See you in the next video.